Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Jonathan Wood, a software consultant here at Wintellect, and I'll be going over visualizing data with Power BI. And feel free to reach me anytime on Twitter at jwood. Now if you haven't heard of Wintellect, we are a training and consulting company. For our training, we have traditional instructor-led training in classrooms, but we also have on-demand training with our Wintellect Now offering. And we've also put our knowledge into some books, over 30 of them in fact. So if you've been with the .NET space, you're probably familiar with the CLR via C# book from Jeffrey Richter, and some of our consultants are also authors. And a couple of highlights about our accomplishments: we are a Microsoft Gold partners in Cloud Platform, DevOps, and Data Platform. So what are we going to go over here? First of all, we're going to go over what exactly is Power BI and why you would use it. And we're talking about the tools and platforms that come with Power BI, as well as the process pipeline you will use when you use Power BI. Then we'll go over the data exploration part of Power BI, as well as a little bit about Power BI Embedded. And then we'll go over a few demos where we go over Power BI Desktop with dashboards and quick insights. And then we'll go over another demo where I'll show you how to consume real-time data within Power BI. So what exactly is Power BI? It's not just to show pretty graphs and charts, but it can also help you analyze and gain valuable insights on your data. And you can view these insights wherever you are, whether it's at the office on the desktop, at home on the web, or going between both of those places on mobile. But why would you want to use Power BI versus some of the other things that you can use to visualize your data? Well, Power BI has a lot of stuff going for it that you can use to analyze and get insights on your data. Some of those things include different visualization tools, such as different charts and graphs that you can use. You can explore your data interactively and update your data as you go. You can create shareable content, whether it's reports or dashboards. You can integrate ETL tooling. You can consume from different data sources, and we'll see later in the demo how many data sources you actually can connect to. And then you have machine learning insights that can give you answers to questions you might even have thought of to ask about your data. And we have an analogy here to help compare Power BI. And Excel is to Power BI what Word is to PowerPoint. Within Word, it's great as a text processor, but if you actually want to present something, there's a bit of a presentation mode, and you can add a little bit of charts and all to it. But if you really want to present something, then you would want to go with PowerPoint instead, because it has so many extra features that's specific to presentations that you would want to use. In the same sense, Excel has a lot of analysis tools and charting within it, but if you really want to gain insights on your data or do more powerful charts, you would want to go to Power BI. Now let's go tools and platforms that you get when you go to Power BI. First, you got the Power BI Desktop, which is used to design and visualize your data. It also includes a way to query and model your data. And then we have the cloud services, which is also called the Power BI service, and that's the web-based interface. With that, you're going to be able to view your dashboards, be able to publish and share different reports or the dashboards. And with there, you can also use the machine learning capabilities to ask questions on your data. And you also have the mobile application for Power BI. And that is cross-platform, so you can use it between iOS or Android. And it's mostly used to view your reports. But not only that, you can also use it to annotate different parts of your reports. And if there are any updates to those, you can get instant notifications. And then there's Power BI Embedded. And that's a way to integrate Power BI into your own applications. And that's going to be REST services where you can use to get different parts of your reports so you can do the embedding. So now there's different components to make up Power BI. First you have datasets, which are connected or imported data that you'll be using within Power BI. Then you have visualizations, which is a graph or a chart that will display different insights on the data. You have reports, which are one or more visualizations, and this can span more than one page. And then you have tiles, which are a snapshot of the data that's pinned to a dashboard. Then you have dashboards, which are one or more tiles that can be shared. And a report is from a single data set, whereas a dashboard can consist of tiles from different data sets. So now that we've gone over the different components that make up Power BI, let's look at a process pipeline that you would go to from getting your data in all the way to sharing it. First, you will load in your data, or you can query it in order to get it into Power BI. Then if you need to, you can transform or clean up your data, as well as you can model any relationships with parts of your data. And then you will visualize your data with any of the built-in charts or graphs so you can help get insights on it. And then you will build reports and dashboards which will allow you to share it to anyone. And these 6 pieces can be summed down to 3 different categories. First is input, then process, and then share. Now let's go 3 different categories in more detail. For the input part, Power BI can connect to quite a wide variety of different data sources. And these include text files such as Excel and CSV files, different databases, as well as on-premises databases that you have locally. And then once you connect to them, you can transform and clean that data even before it gets loaded within Power BI. Now the process is where you actually build out your visualizations. And before you do that, you can actually model your different data sources together, where you can create logical connections and relationships between your different data sources. And then you have a wide variety of different visualizations where you can represent your data visually, such as charts, graphs, maps, or other representations of data. Now, even though Power BI has a lot of different ways to visualize your data, you can actually find other ways to do that within the marketplace if it's not available in Power BI. And if you still can't find anything, you can create your own custom visualizations, or you can go down to R and build your visualization within R, and it'll show up in Power BI. Then we come to the sharing portion. This is where we use the Power BI service to publish reports and dashboards out, and you can actually get a URL of those where you can share those between your team members. And then we have Power BI Embedded, and this allows you to embed different Power BI reports into your own applications, which enables your users not to even know what Power BI is in order to view the reports. And this can save a lot of development time, so you don't have to hand code the different reports. It all comes with a reliable infrastructure from Microsoft, and it is and viewing these reports can even be scaled. Now Power BI, all the integration of Power BI embedded for you, including authentication, so there's no infrastructure on your part to embed a report or dashboard within your own applications. Now I mentioned learning capabilities earlier, and what that allows you to do is to gain some extra insights on your data, including ways to use natural language processing, so you can ask natural language questions in the everyday English that you use already to ask questions on your data, and it will bring back results based on the question that you asked. Power BI also has a feature called Quick Insights, which is where it'll automatically go through your data and find patterns into it that it thinks is interesting. And what this allows is that it'll ask questions on your data that you didn't even think to ask before, so you get even more insights. Now, if you need to explore your data even further, where you need to run some custom calculations to perform different actions or transformations on your data, you can do that with the data analysis expressions, or DAX. And DAX is more of a query-like language that you can use within Power BI to be able to extract even more insights on your data. For example, you can create new columns with it based on other columns within your data. And with that, to a couple of demos. In this first demo, I'm going to show how to use Power BI Desktop to load and visualize a data set, and then I will also use the DAX query language to transform that data before it gets loaded. Then I will publish that report out to the Power BI service, where I'll show how to use the Quick Insights feature. So here I am in Power BI, and to load my data, I'm going to go to the Get Data and go to More, and you can see we have a bunch of choices for different data sources. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to load a CSV file, and what this data is just a small data set consisting of sales data for different office supplies. And in Power BI here, we see that it automatically detected that the delimiter was a comma, and we get a preview of our data here. Now we can go ahead and load our data, but I'm going to edit it and show you how to use DAX to create a customized column. We can do other things here, such as remove columns and duplicate columns, and go to custom column, give it a new name, total price. I'm going to set that equal to number of units times the unit price. There we go. It's automatically loaded, and I'm going to set the column type to fixed decimal number. And with that, we're going to close and apply. Now it's going to load my data into Power BI. So now that my data is loaded, I can see that I have all my columns over here. And now let's create a couple of visualizations. First thing we can do is the number of units, and it automatically takes a guess at the best visualization to use with that data. Then I'm going to use the reps. Get this a little bit bigger. And now I can instantly see which rep sold the most units. Another visualization I like to use is the gauge visualization. And it shows you how close you are to a certain target. What I'm going to do is use the total price, and I can update it and give it a minimum, 0. Give it a max of say 50,000. You see it automatically updates, and give it a target 25,000, and that updates the visualization to show we're almost to our target. Now that we have some visualizations, let's publish those out to the Power BI service. So we go up here to publish, and we'll save our changes. Tell it to go to our workspace. Now it's been published, we can automatically go to it within the Power BI service. And there's our reports there. So now that my report has been published, I can go to the workspace and then to the data set, and then I can go to get quick insights. And right now it's going to go through my data set and automatically generate different insights based on my data. So it was pretty quick to generate, and let's view them. And it's a pretty small data set, but they were able to pick out quite a few different insights on it. And a lot of these are stuff I probably wouldn't have even thought to ask about my data. So now if we go back to the slides real quick, we went over using the Power BI desktop to load and visualize some data, a little bit about dashboards, and showed how to use those quick insights to use the machine learning within Power BI to discover patterns within our data. In our next demo, I'm going to show you how to use Power BI to monitor real-time data. And I'm going to use Twitter to get the data, and I'm going to run that through Cognitive Services to get the sentiment analysis, and we'll view all of that within Power BI. Alright, I'm in the Power BI service here, and I'm in my workspace view, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a streaming data set. It's going to be an API, and I'm going to call this Twitter Analysis. Now I need to give it some fields. These are going to be fields from Twitter that I'm going to use. So I got my fields created, and it'll look something like this when it comes in, and I'll just click Create. Alright, so now that we have our streaming data set created, let's now go to the Azure portal and create an instance of the text analytics service that we'll use to score our sentiment. To create a new resource, click to create a new resource, then go to AI and machine learning, and then text analytics. We'll enter a name of Twitter sentiment. For the pricing tier, we'll click on F0, which is a free tier, and that's all we'll need for this demo. And feel free to create one to play around with the API. And we'll put it into a new resource group called TextRG. Then we'll click create, and it won't take very long to deploy. Alright, so now that that's deployed, we'll go to the resource, and then we'll go to the keys, and then we're going to copy one of these keys. Either one will work. We're going to copy it, and then we'll save it for later. Alright, and to connect Power BI to our Text Analytics API, we're going to use a product from Microsoft called Flow. If you're not familiar with it, or other services like if this then that, you would configure Flow with a trigger of some event, such as a new blog post getting published, and then you would configure what action to take on that event. So if a new blog post gets published, you may want it to email you. In our case, our trigger is going to be when a new tweet comes in, we capture it and send it through the Text Analytics API, and then send all that information to our Power BI streaming data set that we created. To set this up, there's actually a template that we can use where all I have to do is fill out a few things to get it running. I'm going to go search for text sentiment. And what we want here is this first item. And you can see down here that I've already connected Flow to my Twitter account, but we need to fill in connections to Text Analytics and Power BI. So let's update Text Analytics, and we can get the connection name up here from our portal. And the account key, we can use what we copied earlier. The site URL is going to be in our portal as well. We can copy that. Click update. Now we can reconnect Power BI. And here we just need to sign in. And now we're all connected. We'll click continue. And now we just need to configure our flow. For the tweets that we want to capture, let's get the ones about the World Cup, since that's going on right now, and we'll probably get a lot of data with that. For our sentiment to use, we're going to use the tweet text to determine our sentiment. And for Power BI, we need to tell it what workspace we're going to deal with. So I added it to my workspace. And it's our Twitter analysis dataset that we created. And here we need to fill out all the values that we told Power BI to capture when we created the dataset. And we can fill all these out with Twitter information. And now we'll just click save. And here we are in the future, and you can see that we have some successful runs within Flow. So now let's go over to Power BI Desktop to visualize some of this data. To do that, I need to get the data first. So I go to Get Data in Power BI Service. Then I'm going to point it to my workspace and then the Twitter analysis dataset and tell it to load. And we can real quick look at the tweets that we got back. And there we go. Now we know we have some data in our data set. And over here we have our different items that we told Power BI to get from Twitter. But we can add some more. We can go up here and click on New Measure. And I want to have something called Average Score of our sentiment. And I'm using DAX to calculate this. And it comes with some pre-built methods that I can use. And here I'm used to calculate, and the average methods to look at the score column. I'm going to add another one called sentiment. Then I'll just paste this one in. And what it's saying is if the average score is greater than 70%, I'm going to mark it as positive. Else, if it's less than or equal to 70% but greater than 30%, it's going to be marked as neutral. And if that's not true, I'm going to mark the rest of them as negative. And now I can do some visualizations on these things. So let's look at the average score. I'm going to mark that as a gauge. Then in here, I'm going to do minimum of 0, maximum of 1, and let's try to do a target of 0.7, 70%. You can see the average sentiment of the World Cup tweets is, it hasn't met our target of 70% yet, and it's around 62%, so it's pretty decently neutral. The next, I'm going to create a table. I'm going to include the tweets that we saw earlier. And then I'm also going to include the sentiment. Got some neutral, negative, and positive ones here. And you noticed here, this is a different language and it still gave a sentiment score. So the Text Analytics API can detect the language that we give it to, and then by the language, it can detect the sentiment from it. That can also add things if the tweet has been favorited, or the retweet count. And so there's a bunch of other things you can do here, but that kind of shows you how you can use the streaming data from Twitter to populate a streaming data set within Power BI, and then use Power BI Desktop to visualize on that data. Alright, so that's all that we have for you today. If there are any questions or any feedback that you want to give, feel free to tweet me at jwood, and we'll see you next time.